Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you will receive alerts when there are new episodes. Go get it.
That's what I tell them.
I've been grinding for so long, I wake up and chase my goals. I go out and I go get it. Hot or cold, that's all I know. I don't succeed, then I don't breathe. Success, what does it mean? If I conquer all my goals, then I'm living out my dream. Dig deep, go out and get it. Success Chronicles. Compete until it's finished. Success Chronicles. Go take care of your business. Success Chronicles. It's deeper than just winning. Success Chronicles.
Well,
That cannot be good for you.
yeah, I wouldn't think so. Let's make fire when ready.
I don't know, first, Doc, I appreciate you for allowing the opportunity to be able to be in the space to just talk and learn from one another, you know?
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure.
Always a blessing.
That part.
Yeah, always a blessing to be able to chop it up with wise people and live and learn and grow together, you know? I think just on my heart, man, just been around some people that's had some heavy loads on them, and as well as myself, you know, some things going on, and, you know, life be lifing.
Right, yeah, that, yeah.
So, you know, sometimes, man, it's a heavy load to bear. And so kind of just want to hit on a little bit about carrying that load. And like in your life, you know, we've all had some trials and tribulations. What's been some ways for you that you've had that have helped you to carry the loads in your life?
Well, you know, this topic is is happening in real time. So
yeah,
sometimes I think we can speak from our wisdom after we've come out of the storm.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I don't particularly feel comfortable when I'm being asked about to give the play-by-play while I'm still in the storm.
Yeah, for sure.
Because sometimes you may catch me with that look of bewilderment in my eyes because I'm still really trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, I think about like Hard Knocks, and when you see those guys, you know, you have a perception of them, but then when they go behind the scenes or mic them up, then you really get to see what really happens. So
it's good,
because I trust this space that, you know, you're created. I will attempt to articulate what I am currently trying to feel my way through.
Well, before you do that, let me say this again. As I said when we started, I appreciate the fact that you are open and willing, because I think a lot of times when we're in the midst of the storm, and I'm speaking for myself too.
Right.
Sometimes when we're in the midst of the storm, we just think that we're the only one that's going through a storm.
Yeah.
Right. But then, you know, as we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and share, to get help, because it's not weak to get help. It's wisdom to know that you need help, and then to take the action to get help.
Right.
And
right.
so a lot of times we just think, man, it's just me. But then when we share and seek wise counsel, if you will,
right,
to realize that, man, I'm not the only one broken. You know?
Yeah.
And then I think the other phase of that is, you know, we also see that, like, it helps us to kind of process and verbalize it and get through it. And sometimes we see it ain't that bad.
Right.
I mean, yes, it's tough, and it could be better.
Right.
But sometimes it's not that bad, and then those people help us figure out a plan to get through it. And then I just think that we're glad that we did. Like, even just saying that helps me. I just took a deep breath when I said that, right? Like, it just felt lighter. You know?
That's what the Bible says. How good and pleasant is it for brothers to dwell, which means to live together, not just visit, but to live together in unity. And so as you were talking, I began to think back to my days as a young boy. I used to watch Mid-South Wrestling.
Come on.
And, they used to wrestle right here in Houston in the Coliseum. And so I had a chance
JYD.
to go. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Had a chance to go catch some of those. But I think about, like, when you said to get help, it's not weakness to seek help. And so I think about the Von Erichs, for whatever reason, just popped in my head. Brothers, right? And when things got bad, they always knew that they had somebody in their corner. That was a brother, not just somebody that you may tag with, and sometimes people will join you, but they have their own agendas. But being a brother in the corner, he knew that he had somebody that was with him for life. And so when life got too heavy, when he was taking a beating, probably at the hands of Junkyard Dog or Kamala or whoever it was that was giving it to him. Yeah,
that's classic, Doc.
He had the ability, if he could just make it to his corner. And the whole premise of having a corner man is somebody that first of all tag.
Yeah.
You're it.
Yeah.
And so when I think about that and having brothers like yourself, that if we can just come to this place where we can make it to our corner man.
Yeah.
And be able to share the load. So that really was the first thought, but I got another one I'll share as I process it a little more. But yeah, that's the first top of the mind.
Yeah. I think also too, it's a blessing when you have a corner man or a brother that you know that you can come to, and it's a safe space.
Wow.
And it's not a putting you down because of it. It's you can somebody that you can bounce ideas back and forth with, and then they'll help you with strategic plan that is good for you.
Right.
I just, as you were saying that, I was just thinking about, just throughout my years, the people that I've been blessed to come in contact with is, of course, family, teammates, friends, family.
Right, yeah. I like
family.
That. I like that.
That I've grown with, from high school and then into college, some of my close partners that we grew with, and then even into my career, working with some guys that we were in the trenches together,
Right.
And to create that bond and that brotherhood, and I think it's so needed. But then here's another one too. You be a faith guy. Now I'm in a church men's group.
Okay.
And I was talking with a guy the other day, actually interviewing him, and he was just saying how that's been one of the things in his life that's made a huge difference that he didn't realize that it would. And the same for me. That's probably, as a man, that's probably one of the best decisions I've made, is to be involved in a men's group, because we're all in there together trying to learn, and nobody's perfect.
Right.
We're all just trying to figure it out and walk in faith.
Right. Yeah. You said one of the most powerful decisions, and so that's common in the life of men, but in my experience, even currently, being a believer, that is exactly what is helpful. This time, this space that we have right now is helpful. So
yeah,
I got a different revelation here recently on when you said teamwork. I started to think about a team pulling a burden, because that's what you prefaced it with, a weight, right? Carrying a burden, carrying a weight. And I thought about a team of oxen. And so, we hear often biblically talking about a yoke, right? Which is what, of course, you put on beasts of burden that are built to carry weights. But you put a yoke on it so that they can become a tandem, so they can balance that weight. You put a yoke, one on one ox neck, one on the other ox neck, and we use it mostly in the church most often as married.
Yeah.
And it's true for marriage, but then the Bible also says that unbelievers or believers ought not be yoked with unbelievers. So we can associate with one another, But the yoke is some situations we can't just tie ourselves and commit to. And so here's the powerful thing about a yoke. Both animals are built to carry weight.
Yeah.
Like men, we can both be yoked together, and we are both built to carry loads. But what happens if we both have a hitch in our left knee? We two oxen, and we both facing forward, facing the same direction, but we both got something going on with our left leg. Well, if we're pulling something, what's going to happen to the weight of what we're pulling? It's going left.
Yeah.
So it's important that we understand that yoke doesn't have to be connected with people that think like us.
Come on.
That have the same problems that we have. Maybe the same weaknesses. Maybe something wrong with my left leg, but I just happen to get with Chip and something's wrong with your right leg. Hey man, good. We didn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
But because we come with different challenges or weaknesses, we can balance each other out. And though neither of us is a perfectly strong oxen, because we're yoked together, now we can pull that thing the way it's supposed to go.
Come on.
That's what you just said to me. So
that's so good.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm gonna do a you on you. You process it.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta let it, as my boy KJ say, you gotta let it marinate.
Yeah, let it marinate on that thing, man. That's good. I don't know, I think too, just hearing you say that, I think it allows us to see that, like I said too, you know, we all have something that we can probably work on, right? That we're broken with, you know. I think that goes into like learning ourselves and managing the things that we have to grow through, if you will.
Right.
But then also understanding our triggers and the things that make us tick and what excites us, what makes us happy.
Right.
You know, what we don't handle well. You know, one thing I appreciate about you, and I don't even know if you know you've done this, but like some couple of times, you know, we've done a session, and I love the self-awareness piece of you knowing who you are, right? Like in these cases, man, I'm not normally, or this is my comfort level, you know, like like understanding like where you are in certain situations. But I think when we can allow ourselves to have that self-awareness, it allows us to maximize our growth, if you will.
Right.
Because you know, like bro, I'm really weak at that.
Right.
Like that's my strengths. You know, I've struggled with this, you know, or you know, those kind of things. And when we are self-aware and we understand those things, man, I think it sets us up on a path that we can grow.
Wow. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What if we weren't honest enough to do that? Some people are self-aware, and then some people are so filled with their pride that they may have a difficult time saying, hey man, I'm not okay today. You know, we know June, and we could go all off into June was you know, June becomes a lot of different things, but Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, when you said that, and so I think about how few men may have a safe place where they can just be vulnerable and say, man, I'm weak today.
I'm not okay.
I'm not okay, and it'd be okay to not be okay.
Come on, you took the words. I was just gonna say that. I mean, it's really, we have to understand that it's not. I mean, it's okay to not be okay. Yeah. But it's not okay to wallow in it. That makes sense, right? Like have the understanding of, man, I'm not good, right? Right. You know, some suggestions is time your pity party.
Right, yeah.
You know, if you will. Like, I got a day to marinate on this. After the day, it's over. Like, I'm going to figure something out. Yeah. It's going to be better, right? Absolutely. You have to have that mindset of, like, you know, time that pity party or whatever, you know. And I think that goes both ways. That's good and bad.
Right.
You know, because I don't think you know, in the tough times, you don't want to stay stuck in it, but even in the supreme, amazing times, there was still opportunity for growth. Right? And so the ability to get better and continue to progress allows in your ability to continue to move on.
Right. I like that. Time to some things. First thing you said that really stuck with me is things that we have to grow through.
Yeah.
And if you miss it, you'll think you said, go through.
Yeah.
But the fact is, the truth is, we have to grow through it. It's a process.
Yes, sir.
Photosynthesis.
Come on.
So you started one that really was so powerful, and I really would be remiss to touch anything on triggers without asking one of my closest brothers and confidants if we could allow him to chime in on his
And I would love that.
profound piece on triggers.
So triggers. Now you're talking about triggers. What are some things, and you can kind of guide it because you see what you were thinking about, the trigger piece.
I mean, we've talked about that term a lot in pop culture. It comes up a lot, particularly when you talk about mental health and just people in general. We've been probably post-pandemic a lot more talk than I ever remember people talking about. Well, somebody triggered them, and so we use it like almost most common things in the English language as so commonly that it loses its meaning. We don't really understand what it means for us to be triggered. So in one of our conversations, this brother right here, who is my big brother, shared something that I have not been able to forget. And when people tell me something with that that you talk about, I'm taking it and I'm running it through my database, and I'm trying instinctively to reject it if it's false, because I got limited RAM in my memory, and I ain't got time to store that stuff that's really don't hold weight. And that has such gravity that I'm just like, that's good. And so when you said triggers, I couldn't even think about commenting without.
You were triggered.
Yeah, I was triggered without letting the trigger man come in and talk about it.
You were triggered to pull in the trigger man.
So there you go. So I introduced the song, present to others, Kevin Johnson.
Good morning, good afternoon, good day, actually. You spoke on my feelings on triggers, and a person that suffered with alcohol consumption or alcoholism, in some 12-step programs, they speak on what their triggers are. And when it pertains to alcohol, I use analogies to explain my allergy, and that allergy is alcoholism. You could change the picture, or you could change the frame, but the picture is going to remain the same. Being that you can't run and hide from alcohol. And people say, oh, well, if I walk into a bar, that'll be my trigger. That could be my trigger. Or I become upset, that could be my trigger. Or you go into the gas station and walk past the bin full of ice cold beers in Texas, and when it's 100 degrees, that could be my trigger. But for me personally, I use an analogy of a gun, a weapon. A weapon without that ammunition, that trigger is useless. It doesn't do anything but just clicks. So for me, it's not about the trigger, but it's about the shot. If I was to walk inside a bar and take that initial shot, that's worse than the trigger. That shot will kill me. If I walk into a gas station and allow myself to be put on a path where I'm thinking about the heat, or I'm thinking about the struggles of the day or the week or the month, and I allow myself to take that shot of that cold beer, it's not about the trigger of me going into a gas station. but it's about me allowing me to load that gun with that shot. So that's my take on actual triggers. If a person has a sex addiction, and they walk into a department store where they sell women lingerie, you know, a person with sex addiction is going to be around women just in the course of daily. They're going to be on their phone, searching up different things, and things will pop up on your timeline. But it's actually when you facilitate those thoughts.
So is that the ammunition? When you said a shot physically, like a shot of tequila,
right?
But like an emotional
shot.
Emotional shot would be the ammunition. What does that mean in your analogy?
As far as sex addiction?
As far as anything.
It's hard for me to express that. For me, it's the physical act of taking that shot or taking that step in that direction. If I know that I struggle with purchasing items randomly, for me personally, with my addiction, if I see something that I like, a pair of tennis shoes, or you might have a watch or a particular piece on your wrist, if I search that up and make that one purchase, I have the propensity to purchasing many different items in that same, or many different items in different colors, be it tennis shoes. So for me personally, I don't like looking at commercials. So I will DVR programs and fast forward through commercials, because I know if I look at certain commercials, that might trigger me into making, say, one purchase, and that one purchase might lead to multiple purchases of that very same item.
That's good. I love that. I think, you know, just hearing you talk about that, it makes me think of making the right choices. It makes me think of understanding why we choose to make the right choices. All right. I think it also makes me think of like Brother Avery and I talked about just knowing yourself. Right. And I love how you talked about like just like me, like I know what those triggers are, and I believe that like when you know what those things are, when you've done the work, the inner work, if you will, I think the outer work speaks for itself.
You have a chance and a choice.
Yep.
People have a chance and a choice. If you don't recognize what an issue might be or could be, then you're not able to change what will be.
That's good. That's good. I think that's not just things that we have addictions with either. I just think that that's everyday life.
Oh, absolutely.
And your growth, because those choices that we make either move us forward or hold us back. Like I believe every choice that we make on a day-to-day basis, you know.
That's true. That's true. Every day we have a chance and a choice to make a change, and change is going to occur, at least for me, either in a positive direction or in a negative direction. In my life, I like the comfortability of being in the middle.
You said in the middle?
In the middle. Mediocrity. Some people will choose to do less just to fit in the middle because they have fear. And fear can freeze you. It can stagnate you.
Yeah.
But if you don't overcome that fear and move on faith, then you'll remain in that same place.
You know, the thing of fear and faith is the belief in things that haven't happened before. Both are the belief of things that haven't happened yet.
Or things that's unseen.
Yeah, and so fear goes the other way, which allows us not to stretch ourselves to get uncomfortable.
Right.
Because we have to learn to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's where our maximum growth is, right? We have to exercise that faith. I don't know what's going to happen, but I believe that great things will if I'm stepping out on faith. And I think, reps make you better. And the more reps you get at, the more you learn to trust faith. Say like, hey, and I just tell you, like, personally, like me, that's how it is in my life. You know, growing up, I had a praying mama, had a faith family, and so, mama would always say, just pray about it, baby. Trust and believe the big man gonna take care of us. I'm like, well, I hear you saying that, mama, but I see the numbers with the checkbook and the account. Like, I see that, right? But then something happened to what we're taking care of. And so repeatedly I've seen that if you just, trust and believe and have faith and put the work in,
absolutely,
that great things will happen for you. That brings me to this, so once we learn those, as we're carrying that load, we take the journey of learning our stuff, understanding those triggers. Then when we get to the other side of conquering that, if you will, or having success, like, what are some of the best ways to handle that success that we've had through that journey?
Wow. I had a young man yesterday. I was just running some errands and jumped out, ran inside, and he stopped me as I was going to go back out to my truck. He said, excuse me, he called me, what did he call me? OG? He called me OG. I was like, this gray hair, I got used to it now. But he said, hey, OG, I got a question for you. I said, what's that? He said, how do I get a truck like yours? And it paused me for a second because I was trying to go where I was going, but I'm looking at this young man who looked like he was maybe 19, 20. His question, I just felt the check in my spirit like I owed him the real answer. And so I stopped him and I said, I got one thing I got to do. I ran to my truck, came back in about a minute. And so I said, you asked me a really good question. Before I answer that, let me ask you this. And so I asked him a series of questions. His age, 24 years old. He's homeless. He's going through a lot right now in his life. And he just moved here about 9 months ago, from out of state. And so he's trying to figure out how to get himself reestablished.
Excuse me.
He's trying to figure out how to get himself reestablished. And so when he was asking me about my truck, I asked him, I said, have you ever had a vehicle? And he said, yes, sir. I said, he's 24 at this point. He told me he's 24. I said, is that the only vehicle you ever had? He said, no, sir. I said, how many vehicles have you had? Well, 3. I said, do you have any of those now? He said, no, sir. So now I'm processing, okay, you're 24, you've had 3 vehicles, you don't have any of those vehicles now. I said, so first, let me help you understand. In order for you to be able to handle a truck like mine, you got to first learn how to handle the 3 vehicles that you've had and been unsuccessful at keeping. So when you ask the question on how do we handle the successes, I think the first thing is we have to learn how to handle the failures correctly.
Yeah.
So we can appreciate the success. And then when somebody asks you on that successful side where you got it all together and you got the truck that they stop and asking you about, you owe it to that young man to answer him with the real answer and not just say, hey, something's right, you got to be a baller, you got to, no. Here is what will give you some weight that you'll be able to carry this should stick with you.
Yeah.
And so to carry the success, you owe it. Each man teach the next man. Each one teach one, right? Yeah. So we have to handle that success with humility. Is my summary of that long story.
Man, I love that, Doc. That's so good. I think too, when we can live a life where we're aware of that. I'm gonna go vacation Bible school on you. This little light of mine.
Come on, man.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And so I think when you can live a life where you know that, like, man, just by you showing up, you make a difference.
That part.
like I mean, just by being there and smiling and speaking and like you make a difference.
I had a similar experience in Louisiana. My wife and I were in Louisiana visiting some of her family members, and I went to a Walmart to pick up some contact lens solution, and I pulled up in my car, and a young man in that same age bracket came up to me and quoted something from a movie that Will Smith was in. He looked at me, it was like, what is it that you do and how did you get here? And I was taken aback because I'm not, growing up in New York, I'm not accustomed to people just coming up to walking up on me.
Yeah, you don't do that.
It reminds me of a TV program years ago. I'm gonna date myself, OG style, Truth or Consequences.
Okay.
There's consequences depending on what your truth is, and I did something similar to what Avery did. I asked him about his life and what choices that he made, and I needed him to be truthful, because if you're not truthful in recognizing and identifying the choices that you make when you had that chance, you'll never go forward.
Hold on, wait a minute. You got to give him that again. Like, you catch this right here. You got to give him that again, Doc.
It's about truth or consequences.
Yeah.
If you don't recognize what your truths are when you had a chance to make that choice, then you'll never be able to go forward. You have to be able to recognize what the real is, keeping it 100 or 250 or 10
Yeah.
So he told me pretty much that, he was working in this Walmart. He was about those streets. He sold drugs, but he wanted something different in his life. So I asked him, what is it that you're doing differently than what you were doing before? And he stood and looked at me with a bewildered look on his face and said, I don't know. And then I saw a tear come out his eye, and he was being truthful and honest. And I had to keep it real with him. If you continue to make the same choices that you made before, then you'll get the same results that you've been getting. And those are the consequences. And we stayed in contact over the course of a year, where periodically he would call me and tell me the things that he was doing.
That's awesome.
And what my opinions of what he was doing.
It's awesome.
And I was truthful with him.
Yeah. I think the beauty of that, I want to just sit in that moment for a minute. Just being here in a barbershop, just reflecting on the blessing, if you will, the ability, the presence that you guys have, like in a barbershop where you have people sitting in your chair and you can pour into them on a day-to-day basis. And I'm reminded of, one time when we were at the other shop, there was a young man that came in, and I want to say it was your birthday.
Oh wow!
And the kid came in and the mom came in and brought a birthday card.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, he was probably about 11 or so. I mean, he may have been like preteen at the time.
Okay.
But then, you and I had a conversation. Then I looked over at your deal, and you had a picture of him as a kid and some of the things that he had done. And I was just thinking to myself, man, what a blessing that is for kids, people, to have people in their life that can pour into them and give them the truth, and based off of the experiences and failures that we've been blessed to experience.
You've been blessed to experience.
That's what I said. I meant that.
I'm gonna do one of you. You got to give them that again. That part I need to hear.
And the failures that we've been blessed to experience, because it's bigger than us. It's about what we can do to be a blessing to others, and when you can shine that light and be open and honest and be truthful about, hey, man, I went down this road and that's not the road you want to go down, right? And I can tell you from experience, not from fluff.
Right.
Like, bro, go to the right.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's how I got here, right? And by me opening up and being open and honest to you, now you don't have to grow through all of those things that I did. Now you're a step ahead. And I think that that's a blessing, man. I just commend y'all for what you do, how you do what you do, because it truly is a blessing.
It's funny that you said that. There's another analogy that I like to use, is the analogy of going from the state of confusion to a city of serenity. And I use the analogy of a car, right? And all the instruments and the things in the car, and our past reminds me of the rearview mirror. When you're sitting in your car and you look in the rearview mirror, I don't regret where I came from.
Yeah.
That rearview mirror is smaller for a particular reason.
Come on.
The windshield is large because it allows me and enables me to see the direction that I'm going to and through. The windshield wipers, sometimes in going in that direction, the path might be stormy. And I might need to turn on those windshield wipers to clear my vision of where I need to go. The signal lights is to let others know if I need to make a change, if I need to change lanes, if I need to get into the HOV lane, if I need to get into the slow lane, or if I'm exiting. The seat belt is like a protection. I call that God. God protects us.
Yeah.
The airbag and the seat belt. The gas pedal, or the acceleration pedal if you have an EV, is to allow me to speed up or to decrease my speed. And sometimes I need to step on the brake and pause, just so that I can assess what it is that I'm going through at that particular moment. And then the seat that I'm in is adjustable. Not necessarily do I need to be sitting up all the time. I might need to hit the lumbar button, to increase my comfort level. But it's not about the destination for me, but it's about the journey. And sometimes during the journey, just like a bodybuilder, you have to go through the pain to gain. I think they say that in sports, no pain, no gain.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, I mean, that's just one of the another analogy that I like to use with the analogy of a motor vehicle.
I think you said a lot in there.
Right, yeah.
But I think one thing that stuck out to me is the seat that I'm in is adjustable.
Bring it home.
Let me give it to him again.
Bring it home. Give it back what it gave us.
The seat that I'm in is adjustable. and what we have to understand is it's important for us to be aware and be able to adjust as we go through this journey. You know, there's different phases in our life. You know, I'm big on success. You know, I think different times of our life, our definitions of success is different. You know, different our actions that we take to achieve those levels of success are different. And in order, just going back to the growth thing here, in order to have that continued growth, we need to know that we have to be able to adjust as needed. And you talked about, you know, it allows you to adjust your comfort, right? So whatever situation you're in, you know, adjust that seat so that you can get it how you need to be, so you can be successful on that journey. Absolutely. And that's what I got from what you said.
When I say to myself, when I first learned how to drive, I was a young man. I had to adjust that seat. I had to lower it and push it forward so that I can have both hands on the wheel and that my foot can reach the pedal. When I became a teenager, you know, as a young adult,
Give it to him.
I had to readjust that seat. Because I was a little taller or I was a little heavier. So I might have to tilt the steering wheel up a little higher and lower the seat and raise it back and adjust that seat, because I was no longer 5'10", but I was 6'1". You know. And then after being married and having some kids and gaining some weight, you know, and now you're 6'2", 6'3", and you're 300 pounds. You know, I might have to get a new vehicle because that Prius no longer fits me anymore. You know, so I had to adjust my seat to a different comfort level, a different level of success, or even
Let me
failure.
ask you this. I hate to interrupt, but I gotta know. What I heard you say was that sometimes your growth will cause the seat you're in to have to be adjusted.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Or the vehicle that you're in will have to be adjusted as well, because like sometimes the seat just don't do it.
Right.
You just don't fit in the vehicle.
Right.
Right. Or your circumstances.
Come on.
You know, like you said, I got kids. I can't. You know, I got kids. I can't have a 2-door sports car Prius. And like you said, like I got to get some more room to accommodate those people that I love and care for.
That's right.
So that they can ride comfortably.
That's right. And babies are not going to sit in the seats that we sit in. We have to put them in a car seat, you know, and then after they grow and mature a little, you might have to put them on a booster seat. You see what I'm saying? And then after putting them in a booster seat, then they're allowed to sit in the back seat with the proper seat restraints on. And then when they're a little older, you might want to sit them in the co-pilot seat so that they can learn everything that you're doing.
Come on. Life lesson right here.
Yeah.
Life lesson right here.
Right.
And then as they watch you and how you maneuver, that's why it's important to make sure that we're on point, because they're watching, right, as you're teaching. Then now they can take that seat.
And then they move over from that co-pilot seat, that passenger seat, into the driver's seat, and they'll take the wheel. Not realizing that Jesus always has the wheel, you know. So we have to go through different stages of our lives to realize that now we're able to hone up those skills and to manipulate that vehicle.
I think that brings me back to the whole process of what we kind of discussed here, you know, carrying the load, you know, putting in the work, understanding those triggers, understanding the vehicle that gets us to the success, if you will.
Right.
Getting to that success, the journey of that. But then at the end of it, understanding that even though we think we may have the plan, we don't, the big man does.
Right.
And it's important for us that before that struggle, during that struggle, after that struggle, that we understand like we don't control it. We're just a part of it, but the big man has the plan for us, and we just need to operate in his will, and we can trust. Yeah, I said that with some emphasis.
Yeah, right. You meant that.
I meant that. We can trust that we're gonna be taken care of because of that.
So I have this image in my head when you talk about that watching you drive the vehicle. You said life lesson. They're learning how to properly operate the vehicle, but they're also watching that you don't have both hands on the steering wheel, but you're telling them to do it.
Yeah, man.
You drive, you got your leg, turning the wheel, texting, looking on your cell phone. So our example is so powerful because they're not only watching how we're handling the vehicle, they're watching how we're mishandling the vehicle. And a lot of life is not just what we taught, it's more of what they call.
Yeah.
And so we can be successful in outgrowing the vehicle and getting a new vehicle, but then your question was, how do we handle the new success? I would say in one word, responsibly. Because somebody that knows less than we know may not understand when or why I'm driving with my leg on my knee now. They just think that's cool to drive like that.
Yeah.
So now, guess what? They got to take a driving test. They got to go through life. They got to get on the freeway for the first time. But we've armed them with good information for me in my experience level, but was experience that could get them killed by trying to drive like that.
Hey man, let me hit y'all with this. This is a good one. I'm laughing because, like as you said, this real life right here.
Right.
So I'm going through. Y'all know my son. He just recently been driving the job, and going through the whole. Checking it out, teaching. They teach you 10 and 2.
Right, yeah.
I'm like, bro, where I'm from, we don't do 10 and 2, dog. We do 11 or 12. You know what I'm saying, right? So just having that communication and the understanding of, okay, when do we need 10 and 2? When are we 11 or 12?
Right.
All of those things.
Wow.
When do we do the things that we do? When do we need to adjust that seat? When do we need to make sure that we're extra aware and cautious of the curves or whatever it is, the speed limit, or when to stop, or when do we do those things? But I think within that comes, true life, because it allows you to live life with those people that you're around and share the journey, and then going back to the truths of and I'll say this: we was blessed to be blessed to come out of an accident where we hydroplaned.
Wow.
A couple years ago, and it was my family. We was in the truck, and it's raining. Nothing super. It was coming down. We just hit a spot, and then the truck started. And we were hydroplaning, and so it's some knowledge that I learned to drive buses, school buses. Okay. And I learned this long time ago. My first preparation class, probably when I was in college, to drive a bus, turn into the skid, right? And so
That part.
right, and so I saw people, I was aware. I saw people getting off the road. I slowed down. I was aware, and of course, he's with me. He's watching. Right. I'm 10 and 2.
Right.
It's
good dad.
It's this situation here. I got to be extra.
Gotcha.
Alert and aware, and so it ain't just me. I'm my people. And then eventually we're riding, and I hit a spot, and I feel the back of the truck go, like this.
Right.
And so then you're like, hey, turn to the skid. Then it goes back. I turn to the skid again, and then by that time we hit the embankment on the inside, and we were okay. The airbags came out, so I had to total the truck. But then you get out, you look on it, it's really only like a bump on the end where it hit the thing, but we had to total it because of the axle hit and all that stuff. But But the lesson here is, I remember my son saying, "Man, Dad, I'm glad you had that training."
Wow.
You know, back in the day, to know like how'd you do that? Like to know what we didn't go over. Like, man, all I know is like it slowed down for me, and I was just processing. Hey, turn into the skid. You know, turn the wheel to the skid, and so that's what I did. And I mean, that's why we're still here.
Right.
You know, and so cases, man, they see that. That lesson, he'll learn that. He'll know if he ever comes in contact with that, he'll be able to move efficiently and effectively, turn into the skid. Because he experienced it, and then we had the conversation to it. But I say that because, man, that's the beauty of life, is experiencing those highs and the lows, and you know, making mistakes, the blessings of failures, and learning from those, but then being able to share that with others to say, hey, you know, man, I made a mistake on this. You know, vulnerability, you know, open and honest, truthfully. Hey, man, I made a mistake on that, and I'm gonna just tell you, man, like the people I respect the most and trust the most are people that have come to me and say, hey, man, I blew that. Like, hey, I'm not perfect on that. Like, I made a mistake on that. Not the people that say, hey, well, you know, just ego, skip over it. Yeah. You know, like, no. Like, hey, I was wrong on that. Now, how can we fix this and move on?
Good things come to those that wait. Bad things come to those that wait too long. And if we wait too long to be truthful, honest, and vulnerable with youth or with everyone, I think, then we'll be missing out. It's funny. I believe that people learn more from what they see than what you tell them.
What's caught and taught, like you said.
You could tell a person anything that you want because it sounds good.
Yeah.
But what they see, those actions, is what I believe you get the most benefits from. I'll tell my son or daughter why I don't drive all the time at 10 and 2. What's the purpose behind having one hand free? Because you might need to brace somebody in that next seat.
Are you taking them back now? That arm across?
Back to that. That vehicle again. You know, you might know that you're jamming on the brakes. You know, and they're not prepared for that thrust forward. So you might stick that right hand over just to brace them or just to let them know that a change is coming. It's true for consequences, but if we don't tell the truth, there will be consequences.
Yeah. Well, man, as we close and wrap up with this, man, like any one final thought that each of y'all have from this? Just kind of a reflection. I mean, I'll go. I just think first off, man, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to do it. You know, because it is a safe space. So you come to Barbershop, it's a safe space where it's great conversation, and I appreciate the fact that you guys are willing to open up and chop it up with me. And you know, and be in a safe space, because I think not only is it a blessing to us, but more so, I think it's a blessing to so many people that'll be able to check it out.
I think for me, you said something that was really key in your experience, was that to come back and say, hey, I messed up. I didn't get that right. But the analogy of this story, actually real story that you told, was that in the bus, even if you hadn't come back and been honest and open enough to come and say, I messed up, they were riding with you. If you had done something different, they would have known you messed up by the consequence of what happened in that situation. So I think sometimes we have to just remember it's just that simple, that we're not fooling anybody by not just coming forward and say I messed up. Normally they thinking, yeah, I know, you did. So you really have more to lose by lying then you stay in the game by just being honest, because now you said most of the people that you trust the most are the people that didn't challenge your perception of what happened. No, see, what had happened was the trajectory of the, no, you trust them more because they were just honest enough to say, hey man, I'm human, I blew it.
Yeah.
How can we get past it? Which is a big part of how you handle the success responsibly. That comes with the confidence of knowing, because I failed that once, I don't lose the whole battle. And so that's what I got.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. What you got, KJ? Anything stick out for you?
Yeah, sometimes you have to say less to mean more. And it's not about what you say, it's about what you do. It's about your actions. That's what I got from what you had said. When you get arrested, they say you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you say can and will be used against you. You know, and sometimes you have the right to express how you feel truthfully to the people that you care about, so that they can benefit from that. You know, so it's twofold. You know, you do have the right to remain silent, but then you have the right to be truthful, honest, and vulnerable.
There it is, man.
It is. All right, another one.
Another one, baby. Man. Woo. That's okay.
Go get it.